Start recording now. We're good now. We seem okay, I think. It was like right when I hit record too.
Mm.
All right. We're done with the episode. Finale done. Episode 8. So, your thoughts. What'd you think?
I gotta say, okay. I think my mind shifted about halfway through because I realized at a certain point they're doing a season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's it, plain and simple. So because of that, I think a lot of my perspective on it changed. I really liked it. I think if we're, because it's like, well, we got to wrap up what's going on with Balin. We got to wrap up what's going on with Shin. I don't think we have to. I think that this is, not only would we get a season 2, but I think that this is like a high priority thing. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be like, although I could be totally wrong, but like, you know, I don't think it's going to be like a Loki where we have to wait almost 3 years between seasons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's going to be much more like a Mando where it's like, this was thought of, you know, honestly, Dave Filoni, you know, he's a writer, but, you know, in his role as an executive and as a producer, you know, he can still do a ton of work on this throughout the strike and stuff. I really think, obviously, the biggest headache he's going to have, you know, unfortunately, is what do you do with Balin? At this point, I think people already thought, just to honor Ray Stevenson's performance as this character, I think so many people were already on board with a recast.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, because you want to see where it goes so that, you know, his work isn't, you know, kind of wasted, you know.
Right.
So I think a recast is definitely going to happen, and I think when it does, I'm psyched to see where this goes. I wanted to see a hug with Hera and Ezra. That was a weird
That's
moment.
wild.
I think that was a weird moment to cut.
Not
right
even
there,
like
but
not even like a. I don't know
like
what
a
you
tear.
do with like a chopper.
like I thought
either,
that she
like,
would like run up to him or
But
something.
we
You
have.
know.
But that when Sabine and Ezra saw each other again, you didn't get.
Yeah,
that
I
either.
think again that's a broader thing about this series. I think some of the emotional beats could have hit a little harder. Like I said about the creator, like I think some of the emotional beats really could have hit a lot harder than they did. That being said, I think the emotional beats were still there. They were still there. I think overall, I'm still like, if you take animation out of it, which a lot of people seem to do, if you're just talking live action series, I think this is easily number 2. Easily. I think that this is better than any single season of Mando.
Yeah.
And it's
I don't know.
obviously
Season 2
of Mando is like really good, but I still think this blows it out of the water just because I care more.
Right.
These are my characters, you know, that I am like some of them grew up with in the case of Ahsoka.
Yeah.
But then more than that, I do think that like there's just a lot more attention to story and kind of where they're going in a general direction. You know, where Mando, I just, you know, by the end of season 3, the more I think about Mando, the more I'm kind of like over it. Honestly, the more I think about it and talk about it like with my friends and stuff, the more I kind of sour on season 3, especially, but kind of the whole show, I'm just kind of like, eh. But that being said, season 1 and 2 of Mando are still excellent television. But I think this is easily better, and I think it's, you know, I think from a technical, from a filmmaking standpoint, from a story, from a dialogue, I think Andor is much better.
Oh yeah.
But in terms of being a show set in the Star Wars universe about the Star Wars story, I think this is, it can't be beat. I mean, I think everything in it has been fantastic. I think it's been varying degrees. There's been some divots, you know, some small dips, I think. But I think you're talking small dips. I mean, this is, I think, another thing that I've seen a lot of people say that I agree with is, you know, the other shows. First of all, when was the last time you rewatched any of the other 3 shows?
No, never.
Exactly. And second of all, this show has the thing where I'll go check out the Mando season 1 finale because it's so good. I'll go check out the I'm rewatching Book of Boba Fett. I love the train episode. The next one is but then the Mando episode. This one is every episode is an essential banger. Honestly, like every episode is essential. There's no and rises to the level of quality that you would want to watch it again. I've been saying every week. I have not rewatched in full a single one of these episodes yet. And I loved that I did that. I've only seen them while either watching it with you or at home the one time. Obviously, I've gone back. Everybody's, I think, watched the Clone Wars scenes a couple of times, whether it's on even TikTok or what. But I love this show. And then in terms of the finale, I think we can get a little bit deeper, overall after we get your thoughts. But in terms of season 1 of Star Wars Ahsoka, I think Dave Filoni absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I feel on the episode about pretty much the same as maybe a little less than you. I agree with you on the first maybe 10 minutes or so. We could have just extended the last episode maybe another 10 minutes and just fit that all in there. I'm with you on the emotional beats where it's just been a tad clunky. I don't know. It just you get to those kind of big moments where these characters are reuniting and you're expecting this kind of big thing and it just doesn't.
Kind of pulls back.
It does. It does. And
again, I think easy fixes.
Yeah.
And I think when you go, whenever we end up in a movie, I think when you go cinematic, you're gonna have big cinematic emotional moments like that, especially with a Star Wars movie. But again, I think it's like those little things of emotion, things like Thrawn's look. It's 96% of the way there. I think if you tweak him a little bit, fix his kind of whacked out wig on the side, I think he's perfectly fine. I think that anything that I have wrong is easy.
Yeah, as far as Balin and Shin Hati goes, for me, like I know Michelle said, like you could maybe just leave the Balin thing how they left it, and she said it was kind of regal, or have a Dumbledore style recast, which will give the fans a while to guess who can live up to him. I think you could do that, but also at the same time, I feel like that just leaves so many questions unanswered, I guess, for the both of them. That whole thing, we were like, what is he going at, and obviously, we see at the end he's going for Mortis and stuff like that, but like
I never expected that was what it was going to be. I don't think anybody did.
But like, what is that? Like I feel like that just leaves so much. Like what happens? And Shin Hati, I feel like is even more, not that I want to know more about her because I care more about Balin, but like that, I see that, I'm like, to me, it's like that's not. You can't end it like that because that just they haven't built it up to enough where I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like even her like kind of going to like that tribe. What I don't even know what they are. What that tribe is.
They just said they're no pun intended. They said they're just nomads.
Right, and I guess it kind of speaks to the whole kind of like she is
searching for belonging,
right, and or kind of like even, kind of like Gamora Guardians 3,
that's a really good
something
example.
like that. But Gamora, we've had multiple movies with where it's like, okay, I understand like where they went with that. Whereas this, I'm like, I've only seen her for 7 episodes, and I don't feel as though like that is the right place to leave her character because I feel like for both of them, there's so much more to get out of them from what they were building up. Where it was like, we're these, we're not on either side. We're kind of in the middle, and we're trying to figure it out as we go. And especially obviously with Balin with his kind of grander, looking ahead. So I'd be really upset if they don't do anything with either of them. I think that'd be like completely wasted. But I also think, how do you do that? Like, how do you go from all these, assuming they're all going to have their own kind of ways, they're not going to cross paths. How do you do that in a season 2?
I think they would still cross paths. I mean, like, Shin is still around where Ahsoka and them are, and assumingly Balin is too.
Well, I'm assuming Balin would somehow. Well, I guess like how do they get off the planet? I don't know.
Like again, I guess maybe I shouldn't have it. Maybe I shouldn't be as trusting or whatever. But I do think that they'll execute a season 2 good. Yeah. And I think because of that faith, I think I'm letting go of a lot of the same stuff that was bothering me during the episode. I think I'm allowing myself to let go of that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be annoying that we have to wait so long? Yes, it's not like animation where, like, you know, when season 1 comes out, they're already working on season 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're the Bad Batch. But, you know, also it's like kind of the same way I feel about Obi-Wan, kind of the same way I feel about Andor, the Bad Batch. Mando is like, and then now we got Skeleton Crew and Acolyte coming down. You know, we're gonna stay satiated on Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, throughout the year. So whenever they want to give us Ahsoka season 2, I think they'll be able to handle it. And I think it's, you know, you're how did they do it in this? You're dealing with the Ahsoka Sabine storyline, and then you're dealing with the New Republic Hera storyline. It's just now. I think maybe if anything in season 2, it might be a little more together. Now I'll tell you what I would really love. What I would really love is to split the shows in 2. No way would they do that.
Yeah, that's what I was just
But thinking. I would love for them to split the shows in 2. Do all of Ahsoka season 2 is just Baylan, Shin, Ahsoka, and Sabine.
Yeah.
That's it, and Hu Yang. That's it. Very glad that Hu Yang didn't die. And then give us a whole nother show. You could call it something like
what they do.
You could call it something like Rangers of the New Republic, even. And I think, you know, you focus on Hera, because who says a show called whatever of the New Republic? Who says a show about the New Republic can't include a Jedi?
Mm-hmm.
Who's, you know what? A show called Star Wars Rebels had 2 main characters that were Jedi. I think it's totally fine to have, and then that frees you up to do that. I think that frees you up to bring Mon Mothma further along into the timeline, deal with Thrawn's fallout, you know, kind of separate out those 2 conflicts. Again, I don't really think they need to do that. I think if you did everything the same, and you did 8 45-minute episodes, I think that you could do everything and get it to a satisfying point. Now, it's a question of, you know, are they really going to go for all that in live action? Like Mortis and like the other questions, not just the practicality of like, what does it mean for the story? It's the practicality of like, let's see how the audience responds to Night Sisters before we throw them the Mortis gods. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like Morai, the owl, we didn't see her the entire season until that very last scene. And I thought you pointed out perfectly that you were like, where's the daughter? And then I was like, she's dead. Ahsoka is the daughter. She has been since that episode of the Clone Wars.
It's been a while.
But I love... No, yeah. That's like, how would you been... So much. But for me, I can kind of understand and accept, and I think there are going to be tons of people out there that are going to be like, I don't like where they left off Baylan, and I don't even understand it. You know, you didn't...
I think that's fair.
Yeah, you didn't fully like where they left him off or how they left it off. I didn't either, really, but I think I have faith that they'll pick it up. But also, you and I know what Mortis is. There's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be like, he was standing on a cliff.
With a guy that looks like a wizard.
Yeah, with a guy that looked like Dumbledore behind him. Like, what is this? Or there's going to be people who didn't, you know, some people are those people that, like, they're going to be like, didn't even see the faces.
Right.
You know, they're just going to be like, he was just standing on some mountain. Like, what is that? And it's like, that's when, you know, hopefully you go back and you can look and you can, you know, do your homework and stuff on it. But there's a lot of people out there that say, you know, I shouldn't have to watch anything else to understand this show. And by and large, I don't think that you do have to watch anything else to understand this show, but I think you will understand it a lot deeper and appreciate it a lot more if you do go back and watch stuff like that. But I think it'll be interesting to see where people lie, because I think there's all this stuff about how did you feel about the episode, how did you feel about the season, and then there's is the audience going to continue going with this show on this journey, where we're kind of getting more and more into like the weirdest parts of Star Wars, I guess.
So speaking of Night Sisters, as we see, they're kind of like, and again, I know, you know, what we've said before is Filoni's working his way and his magic and trying to make sure the sequel movies make sense.
Yeah.
In where they ended up. Do we think the Night Sisters play a part in the whole Palpatine coming back thing?
I don't know, but I mean, I think they definitely could.
Yeah, I feel like that's maybe where we're going. Is it, we're putting a big emphasis on them in this season. I feel like, or at least these past few episodes.
I mean, it's definitely interesting because I really thought that it was going to be like Thrawn, comes back to the galaxy and it still could be, but I thought it was going to be more kind of like Thrawn comes back to the galaxy. Drops the Night Sisters off at Dathomir. Yeah. And is like, all right, thank you. Like, exactly. But the way that they said, like, sir, we're approaching Dathomir, or we're on approach to Dathomir, and he was like, very good. Like, I think he has business on that planet. I think maybe, is he going to take over Maul's operation? Because as far as I know, the Night Sisters get wiped out in the Clone Wars, and Maul runs Crimson Dawn from Dathomir. I think him and his criminal organization were the last inhabitants of the planet before this. Right. Maybe we get Kira. Is Amelia Clark on the planet?
That'd be crazy.
That would be crazy. I mean,
how many years? I would say how many years though?
It would be 16 years after Solo. So like, I mean, anybody can be any age in Star Wars, but like, I think that could be interesting. But yeah, I don't know. And then there are things to me that, like, I think there's issues where I go, okay, Baylan and Shin, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with them. I trust that in Season 2, that's going to be the focus. But then there is stuff that, like, this specific episode, I would have loved a, like, Thrawn is back. Like, all over the HoloNet or something. Yeah. And, like, a shot of Mon Mothma and a shot of Senator Siono. Yeah, a shot. Maybe even a shot of like somebody as Leia, like even from behind, just like hanging her head or something. I'm not saying you have to bring in Leia. I'm just saying like maybe something like that to just like show like that this is affected, like that. Oh my God, this news is out that Thrawn is back, and then maybe you get like a nice Ezra Hera moment where it's like, we're gonna fight him together, but I do think it was missing that. I do think it was like, but then again, I could be totally wrong because I don't know where they're going, and it could be that nobody does know that he's back, and that people still don't believe Ezra, and that he's keeping his return a secret. You know what I mean? It could be anything, but what do you think? It was like specifically about like how this episode ended, for kind of like the reveal of information, I guess. I do agree with you. I think maybe you could show some sort of like thing like that, like we've seen in like Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi. I forget if it was even Rise of Skywalker, but when like the Empire's either maybe not Revenge of the Sith, but Return of the Jedi, when Empire is defeated, we see all the cities, cheering, the Empire's gone. And you might see it in Rise of Skywalker too. I know you get obviously like them going back to the base, but so maybe you show something, but the opposite of like, this thing is back. Jar Jar crying.
Yeah, and not everybody. Obviously, I feel like I could be wrong. I guess I feel like not everybody would be in tune to be like, oh yeah, that Grand Admiral Thrawn guy.
Yeah.
But like obviously, you have like a Mon Mothma or somebody like that.
Yeah, that's why to me I feel like she was the perfect choice of just to get one shot.
Yeah.
Of Genevieve. Maybe she's even on the ship with Hera or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe she's even like, or even you could do, they did it that one time. They did a post-credit scene to tease Book of Boba Fett the once, and that was it. Maybe you do a post-credit or like a Ahsoka, and then one more scene right after that before it says directed by, whatever. I think not from I'm trying to separate out, not from a perspective of like, oh, I'm mad that we didn't see that, but it'll be in a season 2. I think that's something that like doesn't fit in a season 2, but I think was a little necessary for the end of this episode. Was like, I think specifically that. I think specifically Mon Mothma having a moment of going, oh shit, and just letting that play out on Genevieve O'Reilly's face, I think would have been fantastic.
I think it helps to also kind of confirm their fears that you hear like in previous episodes.
Yeah, it helps. Why are we hearing so much about these senators' feelings on Thrawn if we're not gonna meet up with it? Or even to tie back to Mando, like give me sir, we're approaching Sir, we're approaching Dathomir, and Captain Pelion is waiting. Just to tie back to the Mando finale where you saw Pelion being like, Thrawn's gonna be back any day now, don't worry. Yeah. Like, just something like that. I feel like there was those little tiny like threads that were kind of missed, but again, these are like small things. But I just think that really would have like hammered it home in those kind of final shots, like just Mon Mothma like looking down at like a pad or something and being just raising her head back up, like, oh my god, kind of like I heard somebody compare it to. Forgive me. You remember The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug?
Yeah, okay? I know the movie. I've never seen the movie.
But you've never seen it? No. Oh, wow, damn.
I'm not the biggest Lord of the Rings guy, so
that's
I was
fair.
like, Hobbit, whatever.
At the end of that movie, they, mistakes are made, and Bilbo fucks up, and so does other people. But like, Smaug gets out.
Okay.
And he desolates stuff.
Benedict Cumberbatch, right?
Benedict Cumberbatch, yep. Absolutely. He goes. Last line of the movie goes, "I am fire, I am death," and it's like, whoa. And then it's this giant dragon with Benedict Cumberbatch saying, "I am fire, I am death," and then the camera shoots back over the water, and it just like goes up this ridge onto Martin Freeman's face, and he just goes, "What have we done?" And then it just cuts to black. And somebody was like, imagine if like that was this kind of ending. That would have been fantastic. Like that ending, I remember, like to a so-so movie to another so-so movie.
See, that's what you're saying. Like I can picture that being like people.
That
like,
ending was like, holy shit! Yeah. Like imagine that of like a Sabine being like, they shoot away and it just like whip pans into Sabine and it's just like, what have we done? Like something like that. But just that would have been so cool, and it felt a little more like, oh man, we got to deal with this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, you wanted more weight.
Yeah.
You wanted to feel more weight.
Yeah, I did want to feel more weight. And it's again, it's like, I think this is like a big build. Like, I think a lot of people were thinking like, oh, it's going to be Ahsoka season 1 and then the movie. It's like, I think we're like way further out than people are thinking. I think we're going to get an Ahsoka season 2. We're going to get a Mando season 4. We're going to get a lot more time to build up this story. And now that Thrawn is back in the galaxy, too, next time we see Bo-Katan, maybe Bo-Katan is the main character of Mando Season 4, and maybe Bo-Katan is now dealing with Thrawn directly. You know what I mean? It's like, Thrawn is not just an Ahsoka villain, whereas I think Baylan and Shin is Ahsoka villains. I would even love, again, I keep coming back to this, but I would love, like, a New Republic thing where maybe you get a show where Bo-Katan goes to meet up with Hera, because they know each other, and then Ezra's there, and they, they all do an attack on Thrawn or something. I don't know, but I just think there's so much more story to tell, and there's more than enough time to tell it that I am not like losing my mind over some of the bigger things that I'm like, oh, I would have liked the answer to that.
I was looking to see if I could see if anybody had any like reviews or something on Twitter, but I can't really find anything.
That's the other thing too, is like, how popular has the show been with audiences?
I don't know. That's a good question.
You know what I mean? I know that there was the numbers early on that it was low, but then apparently at episode 4, when Hayden showed up, there was a apparently the next week there was like the numbers like tripled apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, so big, I guess it went to big numbers, but yeah. And then I do like that the very last shot was Anakin.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I love everything that this show did for both Anakin and Hayden Christensen. I mean, I liked in Kenobi that it was like, yes, it's these two actors working together again.
Yeah. I mean, again, even though it was, a lot of, I feel like Hayden Christensen's kind of place in Kenobi was like those, those kind of like flashback, training scenes. Hands down, the best part of him and Ewan McGregor acting between each other, for me again was that like battle at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and when the mask on the helmet, cracks and everything like that. Like, I think that show was fantastic to really let Hayden sink in and be Darth Vader, and to work with Ewan again, and to do that one flashback was really cool. This to me was like Hayden Christensen being a main character as Anakin Skywalker again, and that to me was like incredible. Yeah, I just thought I loved it, and I thought he looked so like just. And obviously, we're gonna see him again at some point in Star Wars, but like if we never see him again ever, I mean, I was happy with Return of the Jedi. You know, my whole childhood, Return of the Jedi is the last time you ever see. Well, not my whole childhood because his movies hadn't come out at a certain point, but post 2005, when you watch Star Wars. The last shot of damn near last shot of the whole franchise is Hayden Christensen smiling at Luke, and then Luke smiling back at him, and that's the end of it. So I liked that it kind of had that element, because it's like, sorry to all the Luke, mega fans out there, but like, because whether it's the year that I was born and when I grew up, but like to me, Anakin Skywalker is Star Wars, and I think that this show has that more than anything. I think this show was like Anakin Skywalker is the guy more than the prequels. Probably not more than Clone Wars, obviously, but I think it was that same Rebels level of like this guy is like a super important guy, not just to the galaxy, but personally to the characters that we love, and I just thought it was great. What can I say? Yeah. And I love the name drop at the end. She was fighting her demons saying, like, I will not become like Anakin. And then right at the end, Thrawn goes, there's no telling how similar you may be. I thought that was great. Just throws it in her face right at the end. I thought that was fantastic. But yeah. And then early in the episode, there will be no negotiating with the Padawan or with the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker. I thought that was great. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
When's the next time we see Thrawn?
I think. I don't even know. What do we got? We got not an acolyte, not in. When do we know when Skeleton Crew takes place?
Now, this, yeah.
Okay, so maybe Skeleton Crew.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he recruits the pirates to work for him, because we know the pirate gang is going to be like the main villain in that.
Right. And I don't know what even is after that. Any shows or anything?
Well, Andor would be after. It would go Skeleton Crew, Acolyte, Andor, and then I would assume Mandalorian season 4.
So maybe.
Yeah, and then maybe Mando. 4? I think he would.
I think he would
be in Mando. Yeah, for sure. And then again, I think maybe there's going to be new stuff. Whatever the thing is. This show just ended. The writer's strike is over. Whatever's happening in the future, they're going to tell us soon. Because they're not going to, look at a tiny, no offense, but a tinier show like Ted Lasso. Look how upset the internet was that we still don't have the answer of is it the last season or is it not. They're not going to let this go 6 months without telling us when or if we're getting another season. You know what I mean? They're not just going to leave that in the wind. I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow morning they go, check out the season 1 finale of Ahsoka. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of room to still go and see what's going on with this story. And I think, we got to understand it's going to take time to make these things. But hopefully it'll all pay off in the end. And if you're going... All right, last question here. Does this show overall make you more confident in Dave Filoni's movie? Less confident? Or where are you
at? I would say maybe it gives me a little bit more... I guess a little bit more confidence. I don't know... And you've probably seen this too on like Twitter or whatever, where people are like, "So is it just gonna be like Ahsoka, Din you know, a bunch of ragtag team of people going up against Thrawn. And it's kind of like, I don't know if that's really what I really don't, I kind of hope it's not that. And I guess I am a little nervous that is what it's going to be. It's going to be like this Avengers style type movie. Because, you know, as cool as Thrawn is like, I think it's just kind of different because he doesn't, his weapon is his like kind of intellectual.
Yeah.
Whereas like I feel like if it were to be like some sort of team up movie, it would have to be like he would have to be some sort of superpowered being or something like that. You know what I mean? So I guess I don't know. I am impressed with, you know, so far what Dave Filoni has kind of like done with all these different characters and making them interesting. But I guess, you know, we'll see what happens when, you know, as we probably get another season of obviously Ahsoka, Mandalorian, etc., and how that builds up to one project, I guess, in the end.
I put it down to, for his movie, I think I'm definitely more confident.
Yeah.
Just because I think, from a writing perspective, I think he's doing better with live action for sure. And then I do think that episode 5 was easily the best live action episode that he's directed. I still will confidently say, a couple weeks later, I still think episode 4 is my favorite and I think the best of this season. That was the Peter Ramsey one who directed Into the Spider-Verse. That was the first Ahsoka and Baylan fight, the one where Anakin shows up right at the end.
Right, yeah.
I still think that's the best episode, but I think Dave's episode 5, I think, is a very close second.
Yep, agreed.
In a show with 8 good to great episodes, I would say. I'd say even the worst episodes of Ahsoka are still good. They're still good Star Wars, and I think are still much better than a lot of the more average episodes of every other show.
Yeah.
But the last thing I'll say about the movie is I think it's going to be okay because think about Twilight of the Apprentice. Think about the Siege of Mandalore. Think about the Battle of Lothal. Think about these huge climactic endings. Think Bad Batch Season 2 finale. You know what I mean? Think about these big climactic endings that Dave Filoni has either written directly or with Bad Batch has had his hands in. None of them feel like an Avengers movie, but they all are dealing with tons of... Look at the Rebels finale, I think, more than any of them. There's like 40 characters in the Rebels finale. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like everyone from Clancy Brown up to Thrawn to Governor Price to, you know, all these different people. I think that's more what his movie is going to feel like. I don't think it's going to be... And sure, audiences, I think, will be like, oh, look at all these characters from all the shows teaming up. You know what I mean? But it's like...
Yeah.
But I think if you make like again, I think there should just be one show on Disney Plus, and I think it should just be called Star Wars. And then it's like every season, it's like oh, this one's focusing on Ahsoka. Yeah. This one, you know... Because I think that makes it easier for a lot of people's brains, because they go... Ahsoka's barely in this episode. What's going on? Mando's barely in this episode. What's going on? Some of the best episodes of Breaking Bad, Bryan Cranston's in like 3 scenes. So, you know, I think there's, you know, don't even get me started with Game of Thrones. Half the time the main characters aren't even in the episodes. I think all that is fine. I just think that's like Twitter blowing up at itself for no reason. But I do think it's going to feel more like that. It's like, it's not just going to feel like, hey, Mando, we need you over on Dathomir. You know, Thrawn's... Thrawn's making an alliance with the pirates.
You know, like Ezra's walking around saying, I'm assembling a team.
Yeah, exactly. Like if Ezra... His name's Bridger. Ezra Bridger. I'm putting together a team. Din Djarin, right? You just became a part of a larger universe. You
hey, be my friend Boba Fett over here. He's a warlord on Tatooine.
Yeah. My name's Lando Calrissian. You're not Lando. But yeah, I think it'll feel like that. I think that it'll be Thrawn as the villain of the movie, and I think it's just gonna be, I think it's gonna be a lot of the Rebels gang, Ahsoka, Din, and Bo.
Yeah.
And I think really that's all you gotta do is you gotta kind of get Din and Bo, if you're even continuing with the character of Din and Boba Fett. I think I don't see this movie happening and not including like Fennec and Boba Fett in some way. I think you just find a way to get all those people naturally together, and then boom, that's your group that's dealing with the fallout in the movie. You know what I mean? I think I think that's it. I think it's very easy to write a movie with a villain, and the goal is to stop that villain. Like I feel like not everything has to be Avengers Endgame, and I think that's. And I'm not saying that's you. I'm saying that's a lot of the internet is just like this whole talk of like it's gonna be an Avengers style team up. You know, no one has ever said that in an official capacity, but like that's just where everyone's brain is at. But I think it'll be fine. Again, because I think Dave has shown time and time. If he's shown one thing time and time again, it's that he can handle multiple characters, doing everything like that. And I think if they knew that this was going to be one season, I think you would have seen. You would have probably seen a smaller, more condensed story to begin with. But I think you definitely would have gotten those answers. You know what I mean? I don't think that they didn't give answers to certain things. Going, it'd be great if we could continue this in some way. You know what I mean? Like, if only there was an avenue to do that. I think a lot of this stuff is purposefully left so that you can revisit it. But I've been talking far too long. Anything else?
That's it.
In the Ahsoka finale?
No, I think we're done.
All right. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us for the Ahsoka finale. Unfortunately for us, Loki is starting this Thursday. I know I am closing at work, so I will not be around to do an immediate reaction right away, but I still might have one going up late at night. I haven't been doing as many immediate reactions for Ahsoka just because we've been doing these live watch-alongs and everything like that and then clipping out the review afterwards, so make sure you're checking those out. But I will be going back to doing immediate reactions to every episode for Loki, and then we are going to try our best to every week put up its own Loki episode review together, and then we'll also obviously still be doing the show on Tuesdays and everything, so we'll be able to talk about it then as well. But other than that, thank you guys for joining us for this entire adventure of going down the entire show of Ahsoka. I'm really glad that we decided to go through with these watch parties and everything. Other than that, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. I've been one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I've been your host, TJ Cornell. Thank you for watching. Check out our other reviews on the channel. Please follow us on our social medias. And we will see you next time.
Boom.